Unlock the secrets of franchising success with the Franchise Life podcast. Hosted by Stacie Shannon. Join us for expert insights, success stories, and practical tips every week. Subscribe now and take your franchise journey to the next level.
Hello and welcome to the Franchise Life. Today we have a very interesting concept called DoodyCalls Pet Waste Management. And with me, I have Chad Harrison, who is in franchise development with the brand. Welcome, Chad.
Thank you, Stacie. Again, I appreciate having me on. It's great to see you.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right. So this is, oh my gosh, I've thought of so many different, cute little things to say about a poop scooping type business. But with that said, Chad, can you just start from the top and give us a high level overview of what Duty Calls is?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, as soon as you, and that's usually like my question when I'm talking to anybody is like, okay, what was your first thought? What was your first thought? What did you think? And you really get a different, spectrum of responses. But yeah, duty calls, again, to the puns, we're number one, the number two business, and we have all sorts of fun with this brand. Our software is called Poop Net, so we're just silly. You go to poop school, and I'll tease somebody that, that has, they got the masters right on the wall, and it's like, well, you can put it right next to your masters. But um, it's just a fun brand from a high level. It's about pets. There's, everybody, we all have a deep emotion for our pets. I mean, from, numbers point of view, 50% of households have pets. And then 100% of them don't want to pick up after them too. So that's where we come in. But um, from a high level, differentiators under $100,000 initial investment. You can position yourself any way in this brand, whether it's coming in as an owner operator or having technicians work for you, and then all sorts of new revenue streams that we're adding. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. This brand is just emboldens that. Um, from a high level, pet waste management, we've got a few other revenue streams. You've got the one truck, the technician, runs the routes and the software to optimize it, the marketing. So everything you would expect in a franchise model. We've been running for 25 years. The creator, the original owner, heard somebody on the radio. He's going home and heard that he's got a pet waste management company. And he's like, well, all right, well, I know I can do this. So he started. And 10 years later, he's franchising 30 territories. And then Authority Brands, our parent company, we came in and we bought DutyCalls in 2018 and we've scaled it. We brought the systems, the processes, and yeah, it's got what you need to be efficient. And then it stays simple in that way, the brand itself. So, yeah.
All right. So, really, at the heart of it, you have technicians that go out and scoop up poop at residential homes, and it could even be at commercial businesses or what have you. I mean, anywhere that it's required. So, and I have a dog, and I can attest that picking up his waste is one of my least favorite things to do. And my dog is about 28 pounds, but I used to have a 50-pound dog, and I hated even more picking up that dog's poop. So, okay, so a few things that come to mind is one, how do you get technicians? I mean, what is the recruitment like to hire a technician to go out and do this dirty job?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. It's interesting for our technicians. You've got a wide labor pool because it's not a specific trade or skill that we're looking for because of course anybody can do this job at the end of the day. But to your point, wanting to do it, we end up with the pet lovers, the people that like to work outside, the people that probably do it at their own house. And then they see this opportunity with duty calls. They're like, oh, this is great. I'm in my own world. I'm in my truck. I've got my routes. You've got the communication with the franchisee or the owner, and then you do your thing. So there's actually a lot of freedom in it. It's a big labor pool too. I mean, it's college kids, it's retired military police, and everybody in between. I actually saw a picture of one of our franchisees, five technicians, and they all just ranged in different groups, again, to the college and retirees. Um, yeah, and it's just, you probably end up pulling the real pet lovers, the people that like working outside. So those are the pulls to it. Um, yeah, and there's definitely at least there definitely are a few in that factor of like, ooh, I'm not doing that. So I'm sure we get some of those, but yeah, there's an again that emotional charge behind pets that I think especially nowadays you see adoption, you see
Yeah.
shelters, and everything has changed so much in the industry. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the pet industry. It is one of the most recession resistant type of industries you can get into, along with senior care, right? I mean, we love our pets. And, there's a number. I came into our initial discussion, several months ago, like, seriously, how can I even pitch this to somebody? Like, it just sounds so crazy. But when you and I started digging in, it made such sense. And for somebody that is looking for a very simplistic business model, that is a route base that has predictable income. And one of the things that you shared with me is, let's say it's a homeowner, they can choose how often they want a technician to come visit their house. It could be daily, it could be every other day, it could be twice a week, once a week, once a month. I mean, depending on their situation. So there's a lot of flexibility in that. And then really when you started sharing with me the different reasons, right? I mean, you have elderly people that are just not physically able to keep up, but they still want to have the love and companionship of a pet. There's people that are too busy, right? And there's people that just simply do not want to do it. So there's a lot of different reasons. But, so we've talked a little bit about, of course, that service, which is one of the main revenue streams of it. But you also have commercial services, right? So can you go into a little bit more about what the commercial side of the business entails?
Absolutely. So when you're looking at the commercial business, and it's changing and growing. By changing, it's growing so much of all the new types of places that people are taking pets. So you have your basic ones: apartment complexes, condos, HOAs, residential homes, neighborhoods that are HOAs. They budget for this type of service. So we market towards that group, property managers and so forth. And then you get into a really interesting part of it is then you have breweries, wineries, I mean, dog parks, which makes sense, golf courses, because we do ducks and geese. So sometimes we kind of branch out a little bit. Um, so it's such a wide group. I mean, there's even some airports out there because people take their pets. They have to have, and the commercial, when you think of commercial business, it's the pet waste station with the trash can down to the bottom and the bags up top. Everyone usually has seen one.
Well, it's right there behind you on your.
Yeah, and that's what we're cleaning. We empty and clean, and I mean the process is it takes about 2 minutes to do one. And your commercial client tends to have about five each. And it's just I've seen it. We can come in at a better pricing than maintenance or anybody that they can have on staff do it. So that's one of the advantages there on the commercial side. We're much more efficient, better and better pricing again. Um, and we want to do it. It sounds,
Mhm.
I used to be in an apartment complex, and just got into a house, and they had a pet waste management company before, and they changed over to the maintenance crew for a little bit, and it was awful. I mean, unfortunately, they just the bags weren't emptied, and so you want the group that's here to service it and the professionals, and that's what another advantage that Duty Calls offers.
So is the pet waste station, is that on a rental basis or is the commercial business buying that and then you're just servicing it?
Yeah, it could be a combination of both. It could be an apartment complex says, please add a few more for us, so we'll install them. There's not a lot of money in the stations themselves. It's the servicing, where you'll have your revenue. And there could be some then that have them already, and we just walk in and start servicing them. Yeah, kind of a combination.
So when you have, when you're talking to prospects, you're in your introductory call. How do you get someone a prospect? Obviously, they're already intrigued by it, right? They're probably a little skeptical. How do you get them excited about this business?
Yeah, it's an essential service, like you mentioned before. 2008, 2011, any kind of challenges outside inflation, such, COVID, when everybody starts to cut back, they cut back on discretionary items, vacations, new cars. Like you mentioned before, pets, there's a big emotion behind it, especially even retirees with fixed incomes. A big emotion behind it. This is something, that service that they're willing to pay for. Again, to your point, at home, all the kids are home from school. It gives the parents time to not to worry about the yard. They can focus on the family and have that time. Or again, the retirees that can't physically do it. So just have that advantage coming out of the gate. Um, and yeah, I mean, just from that level, just well positioned. And then you get into, again, the simplicity of the model. We have a franchising world, and there's a lot of different types of models of working parts. And for this brand, again, it's just the simpler brand. But what you need to be efficient is there. And just have that advantage as well. Those differentiators. Um, yeah, just well positioned that way. Our team too, as we know, behind a franchise, it's the operations team, the brand president. So you've got great leadership there as well. Um, that will connect and will confirm, have that conversation with the candidate as far as expectations and, is this the right brand? So it's just a very good crew, great network. Um, and then you just got the emotional pull behind it. I mean, people love the pets, so we're just kind of well positioned that way. It's a niche market. It's interesting. Nobody, uh, I'll
Yeah,
get the
yeah,
question sometimes, why don't the landscapers do it? And I was like, they don't want to do it. So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's one of those things like in business ownership, it's like do what nobody else wants to do
Well, it's
and position
definitely a
yourself that
niche
way. There's
market for
limited
sure.
competition in it. So,
So
um,
it's definitely a niche market for sure. So when you talk about efficiency, I do have to ask, does the poop net help with that?
Yeah, yep, it does. So on our software, and we keep it simple, even with software, we keep it very simple. Um, what the franchisee or the owner can see on their end, they can see real-time revenue. They can see where their technicians are. Are they following the route that's suggested by our route-based systems? Up to however many technicians they have, 7, 8 technicians, all individually. And then each of those routes for each of those technicians is broken down by the app on their phone. It breaks down the actual routes per route in that day. Um, that's where, especially as you begin to scale up and adding trucks, that really becomes a necessity, and optimizing and making sure as you build your population density, you're running it efficiently. Um, And behind it too is the call center as well, Stacie. Call center. We have a call center that takes care of the phone 7 days a week. That's a big differentiator because in this business, especially the service-based business, getting to that phone first and answering it is key,
Mhm.
quickly without losing that call. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so one thing I love, aside from the simplicity of the business model, it's an essential service. I mean, certainly this is going to be a quick ramp up. You'll have your training. All you really need is a truck, some minor materials to get started. So, from the time of signing a franchise agreement, is it typically like a 60 to 90-day ramp up period for a new owner?
Yeah, from signing the great question. You're about a month out, and at the last week of that month, that's your training. And then as soon as that training is over, and it's all virtual too. As soon as that training is over, then day one operations. You'll have everything you need at that point when you're going through training at the end of that month. And yeah, and then you begin to hit the ground and hit the ground running. Marketing will start during that week as well, to where you potentially walk into some customers already from marketing, reaching out, digital side, your website. They have 11 tactics in total that they begin to do in that week.
All right. So, given you have the residential and the commercial side, what typically do you see as the split between residential and commercial?
Yeah, what I tend to hear is about 60-40, so commercial over residential.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
advantage, as you know, with franchising models, when they've been, a differentiator having, good years behind the belt, 25 years in business, we know that too. So on the commercial side, we really focus in on that. Um, and we really drive that commercial.
Okay. Fantastic. So you have, I mean, you mentioned you guys have been in business for almost 25 years now. Uh, you have over 115 locations nationwide, still plenty of white space and territories available across the US. Chad, on a last note, what can you share with us from a financial standpoint? So, the investment level is very attractive. Investment level is between 64,000 and about 84,000, all in investment for this. But from an ROI standpoint, in an item 19, what can you share about, what the possibilities and what margins are possible in this business?
Yeah, absolutely. So highest grossing franchisee last year was just under 1.4 million, for picking up dog poo at the end of the day. So we joke around and we say, brown to green is what we say, turn it into money. But average gross revenue to around just under that 400,000, gross revenue, average franchisee gross revenue. Um, as they get the opportunity and dive a little deeper, we've got definitely some great margins just because you can imagine there's no brick and mortar, simplicity of the business, the tech, it's a low skill job and that they're not getting paid, six figures, technicians. So it's some great profit margins when they get a chance to validate and connect with our network and definitely get deeper into those. Um, but yeah, it definitely is that lean model.
Wow, that is incredible. It's unimaginable that you can, be over $1 million in gross revenue with a model like this. But that is the beauty of franchising. It's the beauty of essential services, recurring revenue, business models, and so forth. So anything on a last note that you want to share that you think our listeners should know?
Yeah, with the opportunity with Duty Calls, which is a nice advantage, is our parent company, Authority Brands. We have other brands behind here too, with the synergies, all home services. So the synergies make sense there, but we have Wolfies is a mobile pet grooming company. So idea being you come in with Duty Calls, the lower investment level, And then you start adding these other pet service brands on top of that existing customer base. So just ways of scaling up even bigger than Duty Calls with advantages and discounts within the network. Um, but yeah, it's a fun brand, and we just see continued growth for this brand in the industry. Yeah, we're excited about next year.
I like that. Awesome. Well, Chad, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been interesting diving into this concept, and I really can't wait to go live with it because it's totally unlike anything I've ever featured. So, from a brand perspective. But for pet lovers out there, for people looking for a simplistic business model, high margins, certainly a great consideration. So, for anybody that is interested in learning more about Duty Calls, please feel free to reach out to me at Stacie@fusionfranchising.com. Thanks and have a great day.
Thanks for listening. Subscribe for more on the franchise life.